Hey, girlfriend, you know who you are. You have big, big dreams. You want to write a book, stand on a TED Talk stage, be a life coach offering wisdom from your RV in Montana, a cafe in Barcelona, or a beach chair in Tulum. Your other girlfriends and your family, they don't always get your biz savvy. Why do you want to leave your JOB? Because you're a C.A.T.S, aka coach, author, thought leader, and speaker. Meet other change makers like yourself and find out how they make it happen. This is the Big Meow podcast.
Welcome to the Big Meow podcast, sponsored by C.A.T.S Network. I'm Angela Howard, and I'm here this morning with Lizbeth Meredith. And she is going to tell us all about the really interesting and deeply moving things that she does. Welcome, Lizbeth.
Thank you so much for having me, Angela. I'm so glad to be on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for being here. We at C.A.T.S really appreciate you taking time out of your day. We know you're busy. So give us an overview of what you do, Lizbeth.
Well, it hasn't been all that long, but in about 2016, I wrote a book that kind of changed my life, even though my life had already been changed. So today I am an author, but I'm also a coach and a speaker, starting to do more speaking at colleges, talking to people about the power of persistence. I certainly like to talk about trauma and resilience, but really want to help other people like myself who feel like they've been grounded in grit, turn their challenges into superpowers, really, and not feel ashamed about things we've gone through.
So describe what you mean by persistence, because I don't know, I'm a bit of a distraction queen myself, and I know it takes something. Tell us what that is to keep going, the persistence to keep going.
I think it is a very challenging thing in life right now. There's a lot coming at us all the time.
Yeah.
So it's that ability to understand that, for me, it isn't people who have gone through a whole lot of things often feel on the outside of society, who feel like, I don't have enough money. I'm not the right color, depending on the person. I'm not the right gender. I am not from a privileged or well-connected societal group. And really, my experiences have told me that that's A, most of us, and B, when we continue to reach out for support, when we continue to show up for ourselves, when we don't give up the fight, when we keep nudging the needle forward, that really is where the gold is. And the power of persistence really can help all of us into the fold, not to find maybe a perfect life, but to find what we're looking for. And so I really want people to understand that there are skills that they can learn, and there is support that we all should be able to access or create if we need to, but we don't have to feel like we're on the outside and nothing good can ever happen.
Right. So what's the name of your book, and who's reading it? Tell us about the typical client you work with.
Well, so the book that I wrote and published is called Pieces of Me Rescuing My Kidnapped Daughters, and it became a Lifetime TV movie that's called Stolen by Their Father. Wow. So the book does cover a lot of complex trauma issues, intergenerational trauma, things like child abuse, child kidnapping, parental child kidnapping, and just what does it take to, when it feels like the odds are stacked against us, what does it take to, I don't mean that like come out of it and like everything's perfect, not at all, but to come out and, put the fun back in dysfunction and, be able to be a functioning member of society and move forward. And so, I have a lot of people who reach out who say, that was an interesting story, but how did you do it? So I've written Grounded in Grit, Turn Your Challenges into Superpowers. And so that is the book forthcoming that has just some of the skills that I learned from other people, that I learned working in child abuse investigation and probation work, or with other domestic abuse survivors. And so it wasn't like, oh, I'm all me and I know everything. Not at all. But just some things that helped me and helped some of the people that I worked with.
So it sounds like you're coaching now. You've moved from some of the more I don't know, legal jobs and the tough stuff finding, and figuring out these things to now you're coaching. So you're kind of on this other side of the fence. And so you're talking to C.A.T.S, coaches, authors, and speakers over here. And do you have any advice for us as C.A.T.S, as businesswomen? I mean, that's a shift for anybody, but you made this shift. So tell us how you did it.
For me, and thank you for saying that, for me, it really wasn't intuitive at all. It wasn't easy. And I came from I have a master's degree in psychology, but I came from a probation experience where it's accountability, tough love. And some of that just does not work and some of it does. And so for me, I got into a good coaching class and really found that the more we find out exactly who we serve, who are we best able to serve, and ask them the right questions, it does become a lot easier. But that doesn't happen by sitting around and thinking, I should coach. I know I should coach. I have this education or whatever. We have to kind of get in there and fail a little bit at times and not get the messaging right until we get it right.
You're right. So tell us a success story. Tell us a recent person that you've worked with that's life has changed.
I did work with a pretty phenomenal person who'd experienced the loss of a spouse. And it was a long-term relationship that had many, many layers to it. But that loss for this person resulted in so many other unprocessed wounds that just came to the forefront. And so getting a plan together and working together to go through the hardest period was not only transformational for my client, but it was for me as well, because I could see what coaching can do. I think the difference between coaching and therapy can be that it's much more self-perpetuated. So I'm not, as a coach, going to be writing the list of my clients' goals. It's their experience. And to see someone not only have certain goals in mind, but then be able to, we could break it down and put it into bite-sized pieces, week by week, month by month, was really exciting.
Yeah. And I think the thing I love the most is that you're learning from your clients too. You're growing, which makes it seem healthy and that not coming from, like you said, the top down, like, I know it all, let me tell you what to do. It's like, let's partner in your healing. And that's great advice for other coaches, really great advice, powerful advice. And so I know that we at C.A.T.S appreciate that. So tell us what's new for you. What's your big vision? What's ahead?
My big vision, and thank you for asking, is getting this book published, doing a little more strategic speaking, and just keeping a small coaching practice that is like, small, but for me, it's mighty, because I don't want to, having retired after 30 years of human services, basically, I want to keep variety because I keep fresher that way and don't get burnout. And part of this year, my mantra to myself is celebrate your efforts and not always the outcomes. Because I try very, very hard as a perfectionist or a recovering perfectionist, and then I turn it into expectation, bitterness, and burnout sometimes. And so I'm really trying to take a step back from that and say, no. We're going to celebrate the efforts. I'm going to keep making them, but not expect so much of myself, because that has an ugly way of, I push that toward other people as well. So that's this year in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, that's another fantastic nugget of advice for us as coaches and authors and speakers, especially coaches, because we take on other people's things. And I just love, I was never allowed to celebrate my accomplishments as a child. I was always, you can do better. You can do better.
Right.
And that makes you exhausted. And so I think your nugget of advice to celebrate your own efforts, because look what I did. I mean, maybe they didn't show as much as what I put into it, but they will or they won't. But you did the work. And that's great advice for us at C.A.T.S. I really appreciate that.
So good.
So Lizbeth, how do we find you? How do we find you?
Well, I am at my website is at lameredith.com. Also, I have Persistence U podcast with Lizbeth, and that's U is in university. It's the letter U. So I have Persistence U podcast with Lizbeth, and I'm on LinkedIn, and I have an author Facebook page.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. I love the nuggets you gave us this morning. It always really helps us here at C.A.T.S because that's what our whole program, our whole networking is about, supporting each other and giving each other business tips and really just helping us all grow, like you said, heal and be successful together. So thank you for joining us on C.A.T.S Network today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
All right. Bye. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Big Meow podcast, sponsored by C.A.T.S Network. If you liked what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. You can also join our network filled with positivity and possibility. Visit www.catsnetworking.com to join us and learn more, together with your magical, motivated, and mystical new friends at C.A.T.S Network. Let's transform 1 million lives with your message. Are you feeling isolated, sitting at home in your PJs? Or perhaps you're tired of the comfy sweatpants with holes in them that are hidden just below the camera? I mean, you could puke at the thought of another day of Zoom meetings and reporting to your BOSS. Do you want freedom from your home office desk or the office cubicle? Do you want freedom from your current career? Or are you frustrated that your online biz dreams are going nowhere? It's all too overwhelming. Where do you start? All the tech, the choices, and your message. Yep, I said your message, your brand, your voice. What is it? Do you even know what that means? Do you need a biz coach but don't want to invest the big bucks? Let's face it, being a solopreneur is lonely, but you don't have to do it alone. And here's a solution. Join C.A.T.S Network. C.A.T.S Network is a woman-only membership community exclusively available to you, the life coach or executive coach, the author, the thought leader, or the public speaker. If you identify with this list or want to work on adding some of these to your skill set, C.A.T.S is the place for you. Check us out at www.catsnetworking.com. That's C.A.T.S networking.com. Because let's face it, cats are better together.